Good morning. I'm going to spend a few moments talking about Ground News app in a little more detail. I want to kind of cover the overview of it. I don't want to go into an entirely deep dive on the app. We can do that at a different time if that's something that interests you. Just leave a comment at the bottom of the video. First thing I want to do is give you guys a free month's worth of premium. Okay. My invite code is 010252. I'm not currently sponsored by Ground News. It's something that maybe they'll consider at some point. But I like the app enough to give you guys the referral code so that maybe you can follow along with me on some of these videos. My intent is to eventually cover some of the news that interests me with my commentary. While we're in the settings section, which by the way you can get to at the bar down at the bottom of the screen, you can click on enter referral code, place your referral code into the box, submit referral code, and that gives you your free month. I think that the app costs between 89 and 99 cents per month. So if you really like it, I don't feel like that is a too wild of an expense in order to keep up with a one-stop shop for news, if you understand what I'm saying. I also like to set my app to the dark mode. I prefer an AMOLED screen when I'm looking at these things. You can set the sources and the topics you want to see less of. So say I want to put Fox News in there, or I want to put CNN News, or whatever happens to be a station that I'm not entirely too fond of. I'll put that in there. I don't put anything in there on a personal level because I want to see it all. I have a hunger for it all. I want to know what's going on. Okay. All right, let's talk about the basic functions of that. So on the first screen you come to, it's going to have the three little slash icons up in the top left. When I click on that, that's going to show my information, Zwesiwick Waco. It has my website, indigenouspatriot.com. It shows saved stories as well as topics that are of interest to me. I can get to those topics in another section. We're going to cover that a little bit more in detail in a second. I'm going to sit down for a second. All right. So you can put your own icon up there, your own picture. I had an issue with uploading mine, so I'm just going to keep the picture that one of the pictures that they offer me. It's one of the avatars that they offer me. When we go back to the home page, you'll see that there's a magnifying icon. That allows you to search for news topics that interest you. I'm not going to go into that either. At this time, we'll cover that when we're looking at other things in future videos. There's also the little bell icon. What the bell icon does is it takes you to your notifications. Okay? They call them alerts. These are when they're dropping news articles that are of interest to you in particular. So, you know, the first one says Navy SEALs investigate video of dog attack on man in Colin Kaepernick shirt. We'll talk about that in a second because I put that in another section. I can manage these alerts, so I can determine the frequency of when they send them out. I prefer the breaking news and updates, which is about 3 to 5 alerts per day, but that's because I don't want it like ringing off the chain for me. I'm not a big fan of notifications. You can set the alert sound off. You can do your daily news update, which is it's a summary of the day's top news each morning. And you can also set the time that it drops that news on you. Let's go back. So as we spoke on, we're at the home page. The top stories here, they're international stories. They're not necessarily what I am particularly interested in. They're stories that affect the world, broken up by bias. Okay, if you're looking at the BBC Iran covering up COVID-19 statistics, you'll notice that there are 4 icons there. Those icons are where the news is coming from. They're the news sources. They're separated by bias rating. If I click on the right, it's going to show me 2 icons there, the Times, Daily Express. If I click on center, we go back to the 4 icons that we saw prior. And if I click on the left, we'll see how the left covers it. Remember that left, center, and right aren't United States specific terms. They're political terms that are used throughout the world for decades at least. Okay, you can click on it and it'll give you a deeper view. It gives you a little synopsis. The BBC says its Persian service has received leaked documents from an anonymous source indicating that Iran is not being truthful with its COVID data. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's a summary that's written by either volunteers or people on their staff. That's an overall look of what the actual topic happens to be. And you can get further news by clicking one of the icons. Okay, so I clicked on the M. That gives me a synopsis of what they're going to say in particular. And then if I click on it again, I go into Metro News, and that's where the actual article that they've written is. You can share from within there if that's interesting to you. Something that I find appealing is in the top right corner there. You have an icon, and that allows you to translate articles that are not in English. I don't see a lot of articles, I don't see a lot of apps that allow us to do that. One other thing I want to talk about there is the little number 1. So you can see comments based on the stories. I don't really suggest we go into those comments if you're not trying to deal with trolling and whatnot. You can decide to show less content, save for later, share, react to the story, and you can also look at the coverage analysis. Okay, which takes us back to this page, that little initial splash page for the article. But if we scroll down a little bit, we can see just who's covering this particular topic the most. For this one, it's the left. It's lean left, center, lean right, right. Remember in the previous video that we have charts that show far left, left, lean left, center, lean right, right, far right. And the further we get from center, the more bias we're going to have. We can also look at the bottom to see more topics, similar stories. And one thing that's really interesting is it says similar stories, and you can still see the little icons of coverage. I really like that. I really like how I can fine-tune who's covering the news that I'm reading so that I can go back and compare and contrast, bias. I can determine if it's a news source I want to read on a regular basis, if it's something I want to talk about, and how much stock I put into their information. So that's pretty much what the top story section is. I use that section less than I use my feed. What my feed are the things that interest me in particular. Local news, North America, terrorism. If I click on local news, what it allows me to do is it allows me to turn on my location settings, which will geolocate me and pull up news topics that are particular to my area from news sources that are in my area. I really like that, but I'm not going to geolocate on this video. Okay? When you have an outdated screen, it gives you the option to update the news. You can either pull down to update, or you can click the icon that says update. You have your topics, which you are following. Okay, so these are all things that I follow. One of the things that I kind of glossed over was the little 3/ icon. That brings up the following topics as well. It also brings up the saved stories. Mine is Navy to investigate viral video of dogs attacking Colin Kaepernick target. This happened, if I'm not mistaken, this happened last January. So it's not a current event that just happened, but it's current in relevancy to the things that are happening right now in the United States. They need to investigate why their dummy target is wearing a Kaepernick jersey, because that kind of trained your animals to, attack that. So obviously, like I stated, you can go into some of these topics like North America, which covers not just the United States but also covers Canada. It encompasses the entirety of the continent. So we can see various news reporting. Amherst, Canada. NS police arrest man wanted on Canada-wide warrant during traffic stop. It also shows you how long ago that article was posted. So it's an hour. Okay. If we go on the little 3 button, it also allows us to find control if we want these news sources, if we want these news topics, coverage, analysis, and how we react to the story. So also in my feed, I'm able to see the bias on reporting. I can see the left, I can see the center, okay, and I can read accordingly. When I go down to the bottom and I click video, if I prefer not to read my news, if I prefer to go directly towards a video site, it makes it easier to do so. Right decision not to suspend MP arrested on suspicion of rapes as government minister, London, United Kingdom. Okay. Birx warns U.S. coronavirus epidemic is in new phase as cases and deaths climb. Center. The right says Dr. Birx pandemic in new phase in U.S. And the left says top coronavirus advisor warns U.S. in new phase of pandemic. Eventually I'll redo this video when I don't mix up my words a little bit. Remember, this is all a practice video. We can widescreen the video, we can pause them, we can mute them. Pretty standard fare. But also, like the written news articles, you have your icons that you can actually see what your favorite news sources are reporting on this topic. If I click on the map is really interesting when it loads. Okay, so it's showing news articles and topics throughout the world. I can scroll over to the United States. Wait for it to load for a second. You're not going to get populations throughout the entirety of the continent when you're pulled back, but as you scroll further in, you'll get more news sources for those regions. So if I click on the one that's on California, okay, that's going to take me into LA Zoo's lion soulmates euthanized together after age-related health problems. I didn't expect to be clicking on that sad-ass news. I apologize, but it is what it is. In any case, if you have friends or family that are living in different locations, you're able to see what's happening and how it affects them. That's really important, because sometimes we have people that are loved ones that don't know how to stay on top of current events, and to me it's one of the most important things in our day and age, because it's so much going on right now. We're living history. When I go to the Discover section, it has another opportunity for me to search ground news for articles that may interest me, but it also has different categories. I can look at all, I can look at, let's go back. I can look at all, I can look at topics, I can look at places, people, and sources. Let's look at topics. So when we look at topics, we're seeing the things that we follow. It gives me things that it suggests based off of the topics that I follow. Shows me what's trending, what's popular, and it also gives me suggestions based off of things that I already follow. Okay, so let's keep scrolling. When we go to places, we're actually able to fine-tune the areas that we want to get our news from, place specific. So like I stated earlier, maybe you're living in one area and you want the news from there, but you have family members that live in other areas, and you want to keep on top of things because they're going to ask you about them, or maybe there's something that they should know. This allows you to have a deeper control over that. I really like these functions. It really allows me to know just what I'm getting into. Okay, so this is giving me topics of people that I might want to follow. Let's click on Joe Biden. When you click, it gives you a check mark. That allows you to know that this is a topic that is going to be in your feed. You can also click it again, and that will show you news related to Joe Biden, broken down by bias. I'm going to click on immigration and my man Bernie. Let's leave out Trump. I see you down there on the left smiling at me. I'm not smiling at you. I'll see you in November. In any case, I can also click on sources. These sources allow me to kind of like have a magazine of what they're covering for, you know, particular time frame that they're covering these articles. Another thing that's really interesting to me is it has a bias rating right here in this app. Ground News is off the chain with it. Okay, so I can click on the media bias fact check, and what that does is that opens up how different fact checkers view the Associated Press and the content that comes out. It is awesome. I really like that. I can see the sources that are trending, popular sources, etc. In any case, this is the app that I'm going to use for a lot of my news discussions. So if you want to follow along, download the app. Remember that you get a free month, 010252. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the YouTube. I can be found on Twitter. I'm at WIKWEKO. I can also be found on Facebook and Indigenous Patriot. We're on the ground floor of all of this right now. So as time progresses and I get better at speaking to the camera and I know what people want, we're gonna kind of shape it up into something a little more palatable. I don't plan on stopping the conversational tone, but at times I'm gonna want to edit. I'm gonna want to have backgrounds and all that on some of the videos. We'll see. Maybe my ambition is a little stronger than the support. That's up to you. Give me a follow. Let me know if you like the video. If you do, I'll keep doing them.